Okay, I've had some questions about getting the thread out from under the needles on the Coverstitch. This is the Babylock Evolution, but this will work on any machine that does Coverstitch. I've got some denim here, so we're going to simulate doing a jeans hem, and that usually makes it pretty thick and where it's hard to get underneath the presser foot to get the thread out. Now what I'm going to show you is we're going to pull it out above the presser foot. The only difference is you have to rethread the needles after you do this, but it achieves the same result. So let me show you how to do it real quickly. Okay, so let's say we've come around to the beginning of our jeans hem and we're ready to get the fabric removed from the machine. What you're going to do again is raise your needle to the highest point, and this time instead of going under the foot, you're going to come right here underneath the needles where you can get a hold of the thread just slightly. And then you're going to raise the presser foot, and that will release the tension, and that will allow you to actually pull the thread. And depending on how high up it is, you may have to, like I need to go back down to get a hold of the thread on the left side here, because it can be a little bit tough if it's buried down in the fabric there. Everything gets a little bit tight in there, so you have to kind of work it a little bit. And if you can't get it, which I'm having trouble, I'm going to go ahead and pull a little bit of thread and give myself some slack in the threads, and then put it back down, and then I'll go under the needles, and with that little bit of tension now I can grab a hold of the threads and pull them forward. There we go. Okay, now raise the presser foot once you've got a little bit of slack, and pull your tails out long, just the way you did before when you were pulling them from underneath the presser foot. And go ahead and cut. And with the foot up, we can now start pulling our thread out. And just like before, you'll pull it until you have nothing but the looper thread to cut. And once you get enough out there, you can cut it, and just like before, you have all your thread tails on the bottom here ready to be tied off. So there are all three of them. Previous video I was talking about what to do with the leading stitches. They won't come undone, but what I always do is I thread the two top threads in a needle, feed them through to the back, and I tie them off too. It's just cleaner. That way you don't have any loose threads. You don't lose a stitch by cutting it at some point. So that's probably the best way to finish that off. But anyway, so this will work. The only difference is now you have to rethread your needles after you've cut that off. And there's two ways of doing this. If you're able to get under the needles and the presser foot, like I just did, I don't have to rethread my needle. I just have to put the thread back down underneath the feet. Sometimes that can be so tight that your only option is to pull them in front of the needle and then cut them, and if you do that, you have to rethread your needle. But anyway, this will work just as well as getting under the presser foot, and if it's a tight fit, one way or another, you can get the thread out once you've raised the presser foot, get enough thread out to cut it, and then pull it out and have the same results. Anyway, hopefully this will address that question, make it work for you under any circumstance. If you have any more questions, let me know.